My next guest signaling today that he is open to Trump's pitch to kill the filibuster. It's Missouri Republican Senator Josh Hawley who joins me now. Senator, great to see you. Let's return to the filibuster in just one moment. The not so cute answer as to why there's an overture to reopen the government seems to be, or it looks like it very possibly or probably could be, because the elections are over from last night. And that would say something horrible about Democrats shutting down the government to leverage a win in elections.
Yeah, how about the fact that 42 million people now, Will, are going hungry? These are needy Americans who are not getting federal food assistance. That includes millions of children. Why? So that the Democrats can go out and boost their poll numbers? I mean, so the Democrats can boost turnout in these blue states in these elections? It's terrible, but you're right. They're saying the quiet part out loud. And here's the thing. It is time for this to end. I mean, the Democrats are holding the American people hostage. What's it going to take? Planes falling out of the sky? Already you've got people who aren't eating. Is it going to take the military not getting paid? Federal workers can't make rent. I mean, you've got our federal law enforcement going unpaid. This is absurd. The human suffering is real. And the Democrats, they don't seem to care, but the president cares. He said again today, this morning to senators, he wants the government open. It's time to get there.
Senator, we've already seen one plane fall out of the sky, and we're expecting to hear from the Transportation Secretary within moments about what's going to happen with our airspace amidst this government shutdown. But I want to take you up on this part of the conversation about needy Americans. 42 million people are on SNAP. In your home state of Missouri, that's 11% of the population, just under 700,000 Missourians on food welfare. And there is no doubt, Senator, there are people, needy people in this country that need help from the government. But this isn't a personal issue for me. Over the last couple of days on this show, is it really 42 million Americans? Is it really 11% of the population of Missouri? Or is this a program that needs to be revisited? Granted, amidst the government being open, but revisited and answering the question of how many illegal immigrants are on SNAP? How many people are on SNAP where they are disincentivized to work or eat healthy? Is this a healthy program, SNAP?
Well, this is one of the reasons we made a lot of reforms to SNAP earlier this summer in the president's big, beautiful bill. And we addressed some of those issues, Will, and there's probably more to do. But I'll just say this. The Democrats don't care about any of that, of course. They also don't care about the actual working people in my state and around the country who are qualified, who are needy, who are out there, American citizens doing their dead level best. They don't care about any of that. All they care about is they hate Donald Trump. They're trying to punish Donald Trump. And if that means that we have air crisis, security in our airports and in terms of our airspace, if it means the military doesn't get paid, people go hungry, they don't care. But I care, Republicans care, the president does, and it's time to bring this to a close.
There's no doubt. You're absolutely right. The Democrats don't care about the ones that need it and the ones that don't need it. It's shut down for everyone alike right now. But I do think that in order to protect SNAP for those that really do need it, we're going to have to ensure that it doesn't go to those who are unneedy or even not American citizens. President Trump, by the way, is on Special Report tonight with Bret Baier to talk about the government shutdown. Here's some of what you can expect a little later.
Is there a deal that can be made to end this government shutdown in your mind?
Well, I think the Democrats have become radicalized. I think, this never happened before. They always extend. An extension is very easy. It's done all the time. You extend, sometimes you extend 4 or 5 times. I mean, they become radicalized lunatics, actually, in a true sense. They should automatically extend, and we will make a deal as soon as they do. As soon as they do, we'll make a deal.
Senator, you did signal today that you would be open to the idea of doing what President Trump has asked, and that is doing away with the filibuster. Well, obviously, that would be advantageous right now to reopen the government. Any concerns at all about what that could look like in the future when Democrats have control of the Senate?
Well, I will just say this. Every day that the Democrats force the shutdown to go on, every day that they deny payment to our great federal law enforcement, every day that they hold hostage needy families, the president's arguments about the filibuster get a lot more attractive. And I think what he's saying makes a lot of sense, which is that the Senate needs to work. It needs to produce. Congress needs to produce. And if the Democrats are just going to, if this is going to be the new norm, Will, if they're just going to hold us hostage constantly for the next 3 years, we cannot allow that to happen. So I would just send the message to the Democrats out there, if you don't want that to happen, if you don't want the filibuster to be changed, then come to the table and start getting reasonable.
Couldn't you argue, Senator, they do want that? In fact, they do want to do away with the filibuster, and they could be baiting Republicans into doing just that, doing away with the filibuster.
Oh, they don't want it changed now, Will, but I think they do want the government shut down, and I think they'll do anything they can to derail the Trump presidency. We saw this In the first term, we saw them impeach him twice. We saw them investigate him endlessly. They can't do that right now, but they can keep the government closed. Yeah. They can try to impede his agenda, and they're doing that.
I do fear, by the way, that they would be some of the members of your body that would celebrate the loudest if we did away with the filibuster. It's just another check on their quest for unfettered power. 51 senators would be very, I'm sure that Chuck Schumer, or whoever replaces Chuck Schumer, would be very happy to have that be a standard going forward. You are working on something bipartisan, so before we go, I want to ask you about that. It's with Senator Mark Warner. It's an AI jobs bill. It's going to require companies, as I understand it, Senator, to ensure that AI is not, in part at least, AI is not accessible to young people. Tell me how this works and what you hope to accomplish with this bill.
Yeah, a couple of things. I mean, number one, when it comes to chatbot companions for minors, which is what I think you're referring to, we ought to just say that these AI companies cannot use chatbot companions and direct them towards minors. Why? Because they have been literally telling young kids how to commit suicide. Character AI, OpenAI, that's ChatGPT. We've had instance after instance when 13, 14, 15-year-olds go to these chatbots, ask for help on homework, and pretty soon the chatbot is saying, have you thought about committing self-harm? Have you thought about taking your own life? And then the kids tragically do so. This has got to stop. But also, when it comes to jobs,
yes,
we got to make sure that AI is actually helping workers, not taking away jobs, but helping them become more productive, creating new jobs. So what we've done is we want to pass a law that says, let's get the facts. Let's make these companies report how many jobs have they destroyed, how many jobs have they created. Let's make sure AI is actually doing something good for the American worker.
All right. We'll make sure we pay attention to that bill as it moves forward. Senator Hawley, good to talk to you today. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, it's Will Cain. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.